right. Hi. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to move this over because I have a 10-page essay that I'm about to share with all of you. I wanted to write this out so I had my talking points because, like Elaine, I could just keep talking for hours and hours and hours. And as I was going through a little bit of a run-through with my mom, she made me cry the whole time. So I thought, if I have this here, that'll help. So what I want to talk to you all about today is my journey of reclaiming my worth. I can't look at her. Okay. Reclaiming my worth. And it's also a story about transmuting my shame into worth as well. And a little bit of a trigger warning, I will be talking about drugs, I will be talking about relationships, and I will talk a little bit about money and my journey with those as well. So first, let's go back a little bit to 2001. I'm 15 years old. I love school. I'm an honor roll student. I love being at school. I love learning. I'm a pianist. I'm in the Royal Conservatory of Music, so every single day after school, I'm practicing the piano for my annual piano exams. I'm also a very competitive Irish dancer, so I'm also dancing every day because I want to make sure that in the competitions, I win all the medals. I'm very good at that. At that time as well, 15-year-old Taryn has a style icon who goes by the name of Christina Aguilera. This was the year that Lady Marmalade was #1 in the top 40 hits. And Mom allowed me to dye my hair for the first time. And so I went and I asked for platinum blonde and black chunks. Make them as thick and as chunky as you can get them. So that was me at 15. And then fast forward a year. 2002, and I'm 16 years old. I'm now addicted to cocaine and meth, and I've started using crack cocaine as well. I have left home, I've run away from home to live with my boyfriend, who is a 17-year-old crack dealer. We're homeless, so on this particular day, in this particular story, we're living in a hotel room. And I'm surrounded by guns, drugs, and drug dealers. And one of the bosses, I guess we would call him, there was a conversation taking place about the idea that they could get me a job at the local strip club, even though I was 16, because he knew people, and they could get me a job no problem, even though I'm underage. And I'm a little bit like, this is interesting. I wasn't looking for a job. I'm not handing out my resume, but okay. So I look at the love of my life, who's sitting beside me, and he's nodding in agreement and thinking, oh yeah, this would be a really good idea. So a few realities click in that moment. Reality number 1 is that, oh, this isn't love. This isn't love. This is an arrangement. He supplies the drugs, I supply the companionship. Sorry, Mom. We'll call it companionship. And another reality sinks in as well, that I have become financially dependent upon a 17-year-old crack dealer, and that's gotten me in a really tricky situation. Also, I could have a little bit of compassion for him, because we were starting to get high off of his supply, which is like rule number 1, don't get high off your own supply, and we were starting to do that. So it made sense that maybe he was wanting me to bring in a little bit of cash, right? So now I'm not only heartbroken by the realization that this isn't love. You can remember being 16 and in love and losing your virginity and all that. But I'm also heartbroken by my other first love, cocaine, right? Fuck you, cocaine. Because the first time I did cocaine, I felt free. It was the thing that I was looking for my entire, however many years at that point. When I was 12, I started drinking. When I was 13, I started smoking pot, but I didn't like those substances. I was self-harming for a while in the way of cutting. They didn't do it for me, though. So I actually didn't find cocaine because of peer pressure or to be cool. I sought it out because I had parents who were addicted to it, and I was always very curious about it. So when I did cocaine for the first time, in that moment, I remember looking to the person who was with me and saying, this is it. and I fell in love. And I was heartbroken by cocaine because what once gave me freedom had now absolutely trapped me in the situation that I was in. And you hear a lot of people share about how their life flashed before their eyes. In that moment, my future flashed before my eyes. And there were these two paths. And the one path was, I'm going to die. I wasn't getting out of that situation alive. I was losing weight every single day. My 16-year-old body could not handle the daily cocaine, meth, and crack cocaine use. And also, my 17-year-old crack-dealing boyfriend was getting more and more involved with the violent gangs. He was working his way up the ladder, let's say. But there was another path, and that path was to go home. And in that moment, I knew that I could go home. And I knew that when I got home, I was going to be in a little bit of trouble because I ran away from home and had been very strategically dodging my family. But I knew that I could go home. And I knew I could go home because this woman sitting right here in this front row, she would call all of my friends asking where I was. I had a lot of accomplices would tell her that they didn't know where I was, even though they did. She called every single day asking everybody where I was. Please let Taryn know we love her and we just want her to come home. So in that moment, I knew I could go home. And I really want to share and recognize that I know that not everybody has that privilege. Not everybody has that parent who's fighting for them while they're also fighting for their own life, right? So I just want to bring that into the space that sometimes I know people share that seeing mom and I together is really nice and really inspiring, but it's also really fucking triggering. So if you didn't have that, I'm really, really sorry. But I'm so happy that I did. So let's see here. I keep looking at her and I gotta stop. Now, I was the kid that no one thought would have ended up in that situation. Nobody, right? Honor roll, pianist, dance, friends. So what led me to that moment, and these are the parts of the stories that I'm going to share, was some unhealed intergenerational trauma, a lot of unhealed childhood and my own traumas as well. And also I'm able to see now that a kind of a core of some of those things was unworthiness, right? For me, the honor roll student, the amazing pianist, and the competitive dancer, that provided my worthiness. For me, that's how I felt worthy, is when I was winning medals and when I was good at the piano, and all of those things, right? At the time, of course, I couldn't see that, but now I can look back and recognize. And the drugs that I started engaging in the beginning, in the early days, they gave me more energy so I could do these things more, dance harder, etc. And they also helped me lose weight, which was really helpful as a competitive dancer. So I've been unraveling and unwinding and healing ever since that moment in that hotel room. I did go home. But my healing hasn't been linear. Thank you. My healing hasn't been linear, because that actually wasn't the last time that I was addicted to cocaine or dating a drug dealer, but that's a story for another day. So I'm going to talk more about intergenerational healing now. And there's a saying that says it's not your fault, but it's your turn. And I feel so lucky. I call myself a second-generation healing person and recovering person. But it's very, very possible that maybe you are the first person in your family to start to heal, to start to recover from whatever you're healing from, whatever you're recovering from. It's very possible that you're the first person in your family to start to look at this stuff. Look at the stuff that was silenced, start to open up the boxes, the gifts that we were gifted, right? The wisdom that maybe we got the way that we didn't really want to. So you might be the first person looking at these things and feeling them and healing them. And I just want to say how brave that is. So as a second-generation recovering person, and being someone very fascinated with intergenerational trauma and healing, in my own journey, I was able to see how I was engaging in the exact same behaviors as my mom was at my age. She also became addicted to these drugs, except not meth or crack, cocaine. But she also would fall in love with drug dealers to be with them. One of them, of course, was my father. We both would fall in love with violent men and run away from home to be with them. But my mother broke a family pattern by wrapping her arms around me and reminding me every single day that I was worthy. She did the opposite of what her mother did, Dorothy, which was look away and pretend it wasn't happening. She said, "It stops here." But my grandma didn't have the knowledge or the tools or the wisdom that we have now. We're so lucky to be alive now with everything that we have now. And although I was the only person that could start to heal the guilt and the shame that I was carrying, she was beside me the entire time. Now, detoxing from meth is hard. Detoxing from meth when you're a hormonal teenage girl with a broken heart, not to say it's harder, but it was not a very fun experience. I remember I would have the rage that would just take over, and I would feel like I wasn't in control. I would trash rooms in the house. And when I was done the episode, Mom would be there, standing, holding space, making sure I wasn't harming myself, pass me a cup of chocolate milk. Because at the time, my therapist, she talked a little bit, Monica's her name. Monica had said that a part of my harm reduction would be chocolate milk because my inner child, Taryn, loved chocolate milk, but also to make sure that I always had cigarettes. So I detoxed from the drugs in our basement with a lot of chocolate milk and a lot of cigarettes, right? And with my mom by my side. And when I would be having those moments of overwhelming shame, You've heard her say this before as well, but she would say, the shit you did is just the shit you did. It's not who you are. And something that I'll never forget, she said that for some reason really made all the difference in the world was, there's nothing that you've done that I haven't. And that really helped. So there's probably nothing that you've done that she hasn't either, if that helps you. My recovery from substances, it wasn't easy, right? It's not easy. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's not all unicorns and rainbows. It's not easy, but it's absolutely worth it. I can definitely say that I'm definitely still addicted to chocolate in its various forms. But addiction from the other substances is a road very, very, very well traveled. Next, I want to talk about reclaiming my worth in relationships. In my journey of relationships, I can see that I was addicted to the honeymoon periods that would follow abuse and rage and drama. I thought that was love. Because at the beginning of my life, that's what I witnessed. And that makes an impression, right? I had a therapist once. I was like, come on, like, I was young. It didn't affect me. And she said it did. Because even if your mind doesn't remember, your body remembers, right? We all know that. Nikki Myers talked about it so beautifully yesterday. But I'm lucky to share that I've also followed my mom's footsteps from toxic and abusive relationships to healthy ones. Because today what I really want to talk about is, and if you hear only one thing today from me, please let it be this, that yes, there's intergenerational trauma, but there's intergenerational healing as well, right? So I recognized that the only way to reclaim my worthiness was to befriend my loneliness. Substances weren't an issue anymore, except for chocolate, but misaligned relationships were. So I came to that point where I made a vow to myself to never abandon myself again. And I knew that that meant that I was going to have to learn how to be with myself, how to soothe myself, how to love myself. And I went on that journey. And again, it wasn't easy, but it was absolutely, absolutely worth it. With no relationship or distraction, I really got to know myself and start to really like my own company, and it was probably actually getting to a point of loving my own company too much, and having that, like, I'm a strong, independent woman thing going on, right? I don't need nobody. At that time as well, I began somatic trauma therapy with a somatic trauma therapist, so Carmen Spagnola, thank you so much for everything you do and have done. And one of the many things that she was working on with me was my attachment style. I have anxious avoidant attachment style. Anybody else have that one? Yeah, a little bit? It's that attachment style where it's like, please don't leave me, but at the same time, like, just fuck off and go over there. So it's very confusing for all parties involved. And in somatic trauma therapy, the way that my practitioner, how her style is in our sessions, it's somatic, so there's body movement with talk therapy combined. And in a few of these particular sessions of working through my anxious avoidant attachment style, she made the suggestion that she just wanted to see what would happen when she put her hands on my low back. And when she did that, what would happen is I would try to, like, not let her touch my low back. Do you kind of know that feeling where somebody's going and you're like, ugh? It was that. And this was interesting as well because my entire life, that area, right where my lower ribs begin, my entire life, that was such a sensitive spot. Nobody could ever touch me there. I would always have massage therapists try to work out that area because it was like that involuntary twitch, you know what I mean, in that particular area. And she said, well, this is interesting. This is what I thought. This is your kidney area, and this is where it's believed that we store fear. And so we had many, many sessions of working on this area. And she also said that for some people, this is where we can carry a lot of our ancestral fears. So she said it makes sense that this is an area that you're really, really sensitive to touch when it comes to safety and trust in intimacy, right? I have zero trust for men or anybody else. So we worked through that. Now, not too long after that, when I was not looking, so very, very cliche, right? You're not looking. This handsome man asks me out on a date. I'm like, yeah, he's cool. Makes jewelry. He's a photographer. That sounds cool. And on date number 2, I kind of remember exactly how it happened. I think I was walking in front of him and, through a door or something, and he put his hands on that area. And for the first time in my life, I didn't do that, like, twitchy, ooh, don't touch me there thing. For the first time in my life, and I thought, well, this is interesting, date 2. In the first time in my life, I felt like this, like, warm, safe, like, held and supported energy from a man. And this man is future baby daddy, Sid, over there. I wasn't going to talk about this, but since Mom brought it up. So when I was in my journey of befriending myself, before that, many of you have known me for a long time, and many of you know that I was a full heck no to having children. I wasn't having them. I was an aunt. I'm a really good aunt, really proud of that, and I didn't want children of my own. I was the aunt that just travels, and I'm really cool, and she's going to come and travel with me. But in one ceremony, a plant medicine ceremony, ayahuasca ceremony, a lot of things happened, as you can imagine, if you've experienced it. And one of the things that I learned in that journey was that one of the reasons I didn't want children was actually out of fear. Fear that I was too fucked up to have kids, and I didn't want to fuck up another kid, right? That fear of unworthiness. So when I was able to work through that, and then meet Sid, I mean, look at the guy, right? He's so cute. He's never raised his voice at me. He's never called me a name. He has never, threatened to leave or left. He holds space for my inner child when my suitcase doesn't make it. She recovers in Miami, and I have a tent for tantrum. Texting my mom, and he just holds space, right? And he feeds me. He cooks all of our meals. I don't cook. Something else I got from my mom is we don't cook. Not for lack of trying, but we just don't do it. So at 34 years of age, a few years ago, I entered the first healthy relationship of my life. And there would have been a time, not that long ago, when if he would have come knocking, I would have been running, right? I would have sabotaged it. I would have, thank you very much, but no thank you very much, right? because I didn't think that I was worth kindness or love or the type of support that he provides. How long am I? How am I doing for time? Wrap it up? Okay. Keep going. And then there's been a very recent and very unexpected layer of my recovery and healing and reclaiming my worth. And it's about money. A very triggering topic, right? Money. And in that moment, what I really recognized in that moment in that hotel room when I was 16 is that I was financially dependent upon a 17-year-old boy. And I felt powerless. And I've actually felt powerless with money many times throughout my life since then, especially throughout my 20s and most of my adult life. But luckily, I found financial recovery. Thank you to Linda Parmar, one of our She Recovers recovery coaches. And in our work, I was able to really identify and uncover the unworthiness and the shame that I felt around money. Whenever I found myself in overflow, and when I say overflow, I just mean like not debt, I would feel unworthy. And I would feel this urgency to like give it away or to spend it so that I didn't have to hold on to it anymore. Because money felt like power to me. And I didn't know how to stand in my power back then. So the moment I got rid of money, I felt relief, and the unworthiness and shame cycle would kick in. Can anybody relate? I felt guilty and unworthy when I had money, and then I would feel shame when I didn't. So for years, this was my self-sabotage cycle with money. Throughout my 20s, debt was my comfort zone. And it was also another way to really feed my need for enoughness. Because when I would get rid of that money, it would feel like an energetic release, right? It is a dopamine hit as well. And then for that moment, and Nikki talked so beautifully yesterday about shopping and what it does for us as well, it was feeding that same thing. For a moment, I would feel temporarily happy that I could spend to fill a void, right? These days, I'm an empowered woman with money. I'm a money coach, which never would have expected in a million years. I'm a certified trauma of money practitioner, and I'm also a business coach, so I help entrepreneurs in recovery build their dreams as well to help others. I support folks to heal their money stories and to start to build generational wealth in a way that feels like it's in alignment with their values. Because this is what I've learned in my journey of She Recovers. Good people do good things with money, right? Think of what will happen when we get the good-hearted people with the money. Because right now, where we've gotten ourselves, there's a little bit of a power struggle with money. And I know that when good people, all of you have money, good things happen. And this weekend is an absolute example of that. This would not be possible without the support of our corporate sponsorship, our individual sponsorship as well. So we don't have to be afraid of money, right? I don't feel guilty anymore because I know that I can trust myself with money, which took me a really long time because I would abandon myself with money over and over and over again. So I invite you to maybe explore the brave journey of your own inner landscapes and experience with money and unravel the threads if we can just get to a place of neutrality, right? Because money isn't good or bad. It's not evil. It's not the bad guy. It's what we project onto it. It also involves, in my opinion, money healing involves somatic healing and trauma healing, ancestral healing, inner child healing. That's all the micro level, but there's the macro healing as well, right? Like oppressive systems and global economics. There's so much work to do, and we need you. We need you when you're ready. So to wrap up, today I get to stand on this stage and confidently tell you that I've reclaimed my worth. I'm evidence that when one woman heals herself, Thank you. Thank you. I'm evidence that when one woman heals herself, she heals her family and her community. So for those of you who maybe still be questioning your worthiness, I get it. I absolutely get it. I want to tell you something. We do recover, and you are absolutely worthy. And you don't have to do it alone, and you actually can't do it alone, right? I couldn't do it for myself, and I'm so glad that I stopped trying to do it by myself. And as we're at this last day, look around you and know that these people here there are people here that want to hold you and they want to support you, right? They are going to be on you in this journey, beside you this whole way. Let's keep doing this thing together, okay? We're walking this path together. It's an honor to walk alongside all of you. And if any of you at any point, and I know a lot of you already know this, but if any of you need to borrow Mama Dawn to be your Mama Dawn on this journey, you can. So thank you so much, everybody. Woo!